Mysteries of Ancient Wisdom is unlike any other book you have ever encountered. It is a guide to help you uncover the truth hidden in plain sight, and I'm about to show you exactly how. This book helps reveal the universal symbolism woven through countless traditions, including the Bible, ancient mythology, and esoteric teachings, so you can move from awakening to awake. My name is Jacob Kuker, but my friends call me Cub, and I hope you will too. You're probably used to seeing me on the podcast with my face. However, today I'm focusing on this beauty right here, my brand new book, Mysteries of Ancient Wisdom, Lost Symbolism of Heaven Within, by yours truly. What I'm going to show you today is a quick overview of what is in the book and how you can use it in your own spiritual journey. Spoiler alert, again, this book is unlike any other book out there on the market. There's plenty of books that are compendiums of spiritual knowledge. However, in this one, I included a lot of information that is not available in other books, specifically the connections that I personally have been able to find through multiple different traditions, religions, and esoteric teachings, with a heavy focus on biblical esotericism and the secret teachings of Jesus. This book is absolutely guaranteed to impress even the most discerning reader. Now, warning, it is not a scholarly book. I am not a scholar. This is all about the spiritual understanding. The book I'm currently demoing is our beautiful softcover edition. This one is currently free with the digital bundle. We also have our hardcover available with 70-pound pages, making it a bit more durable than this one. However, this one is much easier to open up and actually write in and take notes and leave open on a table to find where you were reading at. This one features 50-pound pages. As you can see, there's absolutely no bleed, but the pages are thin enough to make this book really easy to travel with and a great study companion. As I said, this one is currently only available in the digital bundle, with the premium hardcover available separately for sale. Of course, don't skip the dedication and all the information at the beginning, because it does have deep meaning to the book and will help you navigate the book. But jumping right in, Chapter 1, The Forgotten Truth of Isms, Universalism Above. This is essentially my core philosophy here, as above, so below, with humanism, esotericism within, and then occultism without. Occultism not being anything evil, it is simply the study of secret symbols and hidden languages all around you. This is essentially the language of God. Occultism, esotericism, humanism, as Jesus taught, love your neighbor as yourself, and then universalism, as in everyone is loved, everyone is forgiven, everyone is saved. Now, jumping into Chapter 2, before we get into this, you do not have to agree with my philosophy completely to read and benefit from this book. It is merely my philosophy. Philosophy meaning philosophia, the love of wisdom. And you may have your own different love of wisdom. As you go through the book, you will find understandings that only you, the reader, can understand. And that is precisely how the book is designed, to help you decide what you believe, not force you to believe what I believe. Chapter 2, The Quantum God Theory. If you've ever wondered who you are, where you're from, and why you're here, this chapter is for you. It dives deep into metaphysics, the masculine God particle, the feminine God particle, and then the child. And this is a beautiful chapter if you are looking for your purpose in this world. Chapter 3, the planetary lexicon of the gods, here is what we start out with, and the great planet gods of religion. This chapter will absolutely blow your mind. If you have been in the deconstruction process from religiosity, churchianity, or really any of the major world religions, this is going to help you understand what they're all talking about, from the sun, the moon, the stars, and then the wandering lights, or the original 7 planets. We now know there are more, But in the ancient night skies, this is what we're dealing with here. And so I go through exactly what these characters are, not only in ancient mythology, but also in the biblical standard. Now, I use the Bible a ton in this, not to be religious or force the Bible on anyone, but really because the Bible is an occult book, which I get into later in this book and teach you exactly how to use it to understand the world around you and how society operates. Mercury here, talking about Mercury and its symbolism and its connection to Enoch in the Bible. We have Venus, we have the moon and wisdom, we have the earth here, which is essentially the mother earth, as you've heard it. So I get deep into this stuff. Some things you've heard, some things you haven't, but I promise I will connect dots that you have not connected yet. Not because I'm a guru, but because I am willing to ask the impossible, difficult, and the abstract questions and actually find answers to them through these pages. Mars, the god of war. As we continue on here, Chapter 4, the God spell of the zodiac. I go through all of the zodiac signs. I even include a zodiac wheel. If you've never even studied the zodiac at all as a symbol and a system of timekeeping, that is exactly what I get into with this. And I explain what it is biblically and all of the different biblical narratives that follow it to a T, absolutely perfectly. If you are already an expert or knowledgeable on the zodiac, this is still going to be a great chapter because my philosophy is, again, I ask the hard questions, and I believe in this chapter that I've found connections biblically that I have really never heard before. I'm not saying nobody else has said them, but I had never heard them before as I was studying for this and did a lot of meditation and channeling for this book. I do believe a lot of these pages are inspired by my meditations, by source, God, universe, creator, whatever you choose to call it. Taurus, the bull, we go through all of these. Gemini, the twins. Literally, Paul travels on a ship in the Bible that have the Gemini twins, Castor and Pollux here. I explain exactly what that means and why that's important. The crab and its connection to Jesus Christ. Leo, the lion. It is absolutely beautiful. Scorpio and Judas here. A lot of really, really cool things. Then we get into Sagittarius, the archer. I'll try to skip forward. Aquarius, the water bearer, when Jesus talked about, look for the man bearing the pitcher of water. In ancient times, in Jesus' time, men did not carry the water. This is super significant because women were always going to retrieve the water and bring it to the home. It would have been very rare for a man to be doing this. So we can take this assumption pretty strongly that he was clearly not talking about anything literal here. He was talking about the astrological symbolism of where to meet him and whose house to meet him in. The house of Aquarius. Very, very cool. And I get deep into this all through this chapter. Pisces, the fish, and Jesus. And then the 13th zodiac sign, if you've ever wondered about that one, here he is. Very interesting, and you can learn more about that through the book. Chapter 5, the Holy Order of Angels. I'm going to have to speed up here, guys. We've got all of the main archangels, not all of them, but kind of the main ones, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, etc. I go through those. If you're into angelology or want to learn a bit more about those beings, that's a great place to go. Chapter 6, Forgotten Legends of Mythic Lands. I'm trying to talk too fast here. This is a great one if you like things like Tartaria, if you like things like all of the lost continents, Atlantis, etc., Shambhala. I go through all of that and what they mean. I also include a metaphysical map of the Garden of Eden. If you will remember on my podcast, I talk a lot about the Garden of Eden and the non-literal interpretation, but rather the metaphysical interpretation, the serpent of Kundalini, the interpretation that the angel put at the gate in the Hebrew is actually flaming wheel of magic. Okay, you can't make this stuff up. I give you all the references to go find that in the Bible as well. So this is not necessarily talking about some objective being, but really a metaphysical system of, you have the tree of life as the lungs, you have the four rivers are the arms and the legs, the kundalini serpent, tree of knowledge of good and evil, duality in the sexual systems. And then as you move up, you actually have the third eye and the crown chakra, which guards the place of God. This is amazing, guys. When you begin to understand this, you can't be manipulated anymore. You can't have somebody tell you truth is outside of you when God has already told you it is literally within you. So very, very cool stuff in this book, guys. Again, you're not going to find this brand of information anywhere else. Like I said, there's plenty of esoteric compendiums out there, but this really represents my own philosophy and all the things that I've been making the connections with. I do everything I can to keep this very light, very enjoyable, and very enlightening for you as you go through and read it, to allow you to make your own assumptions rather than just taking mine. Chapter 7, Metaphysics of the Book of Revelation. If you've ever wondered what the 144,000 is, I show you exactly right here. The root chakra, the sacral, the solar plexus, the heart. If you add up the petals on the ancient Vedic symbols for these chakras and then multiply them by the 1,000-petaled lotus, you get 144 times 1,000. That's 144,000. And then that equals the rainbow light body practice of this beautiful shape right here, this crystalline structure that is formed at 144,000. This is where the I Am is discovered. This is called the New Jerusalem, also called Merkabah. And you may have heard those words, but again, seeing it like this, being able to highlight in here, take notes, show your friends and family, hey, I'm not nutty. This is actually adding up. The math actually maths, and you can't make this stuff up, guys. You've got 4 petals, 6 petals, 10 petals, 12, 16, 48, 2 sets of 48 here actually, and then you multiply by 1,000-petaled lotus. It is such a cool system when you begin to understand this. I also have an entire manual in here. If you've ever wondered how to decode Book of Revelation, I have a literal 3-part manual here, the Revelation Ascension Manual, that you can go through, and it'll teach you how to read the Book of Revelation. Again, the book is a tool for you to go forward and do even more of your own research. So I'm helping everybody, including myself, remember what this truth is. Okay, I believe truth is subjective because it's all happening within you. So if you decide God is a man sitting on a throne, that's what God will become for you, which I talk about with the I Am here later. There's John receiving the revelation there. Root of Pergamum, Sacred Act of Thyatira, Zeal of Laodicea. I tie these to every single church in the Book of Revelation with biblical proofs that it is talking about the chakras. I don't think there should be any argument about this anymore. You don't have to agree with me on this assumption, but I think, again, the maths side of Sardis here. Crown of Smyrna, Golgotha, where the skull is. New Jerusalem, the Merkabah, Jesus riding the white horse. The New Jerusalem can certainly be extrapolated rather than a cube as an actual 3-dimensional pyramid. In fact, one going up and one going down. Pretty interesting here when you look at Hebrew mysticism and Kabbalah and really begin to understand that, well, Jesus was a Hebrew mystic, so it makes sense that he would be teaching a mystical system of ascension rather than some objective blind faith in a church institution, which is certainly not what he was teaching. And I get very deep into that in the Mystery Teachings of Jesus Christ. There are 25 individual teachings with beautiful paintings here. All of this is digital artwork. Every single piece of art in the book is digital artwork that I have created for this book. It was created using tools like manual editing, AI editing, AI creation, and many other different avenues. So all of this was created very specifically. When I say AI creation, I don't mean that I just clicked a button and took what it gave me. I was very painstaking on making sure all of the elements that I wanted were in each painting here, and that I had the right style, the right color theory, everything. The artwork in this book, as I hit the camera, the artwork in this book took longer, or just as long actually, as writing the whole book did. So the artwork really is a work of art. It really is an expression of my heart, and I hope you enjoy it. I actually love doing digital artwork, so that's why I'm not afraid of tools like AI if they're used responsibly, and I certainly used AI responsibly in this book. So a quick note on that, AI was used as what I call an editing partner, just to make sure that grammar was correct and all my T's were crossed and my I's were dotted, etc. But all the information in this book came from my mind, my heart, and the revelations that I've received. Again, not as a guru, but as someone willing to ask the hard questions. The double-edged sword of Scripture, reincarnation, born of water and spirit, as above, so below. Seek first the kingdom of God. It's called Gehenna, not hell. If you've ever wanted to prove to a friend why hell is not a biblical construct, that it's a churchianity construct, this is definitely your section. Lord of the Sabbath goes through, again, 25 secret teachings of Jesus hidden in plain sight right within the Bible with their mystical counterparts so that you can begin to reinterpret what Jesus himself was saying. And then we get into the tarot journey. If you've never studied the tarot, I think every single Christian on the planet should study it because the Bible follows that exact framework. It was also created by several Christian mystics and has the entire biblical journey in it, from birth as the fool entering the three-dimensional world, the magician, the high priestess, everyone that you meet, the empress, the emperor, the Hierophant, and then the lovers, Adam and Eve in the original tarot deck. This is all new artwork that I designed as to be kind of a throwback to ancient esoteric ink block artwork, which I love. And this is just some of my favorite artwork in the book. The Chariot Strength, Daniel in the Lion's Den, the Hermit, the Wheel of Fortune, the Hanged Man, obviously Jesus on the cross being the Hanged Man, the Justice, Death, Temperance. Obviously, everyone is going to meet themselves in the mirror like this at some point, but I explain a deeper esoteric understanding of this. So if you've ever wanted to know what the tarot journey is really about, this is going to help you immensely understand. Every movie, television show, book, and story you hear literally follows this framework of what is called the Fool's Journey. And I teach exactly what that looks like in here. And so you're going to be able to decode so many different things. Like I said, whether you're watching a movie or listening to a sermon or reading a book or whatever that is, you'll be able to understand the entire framework that it follows. The world, and then I have a brief note on the minor arcana. I didn't get into that deeply because this is focused on the Fool's Journey. But even if you are a tarot expert, hopefully this will help you even rethink, just what that journey looks like. Because again, all the interpretations in this book are my interpretations. It doesn't mean they're right or wrong. It's just how I interpret things and how I see them. You may see them differently. So moving on to chapter 10, we have the 10 metaphysical commandments. This is so cool. I go through things like, you shall have no other gods before me, and actually look at what the spiritual meaning of that is, or the esoteric interpretation. And I compare that with Hebrew mysticism from the Kabbalah, looking at the Sephirot, as well as the Tree of Life here. So what is very interesting about this is no other gods means self over ego, meaning don't put anything above spirit. Should be simple, right? Yet we've turned it into these very, very dogmatic belief systems. And so I go through that from no graven images, no vain name, honor your father and mother here, which is feminine and masculine balance. Again, beautiful understandings that really will help set you free. And I go through all of these more in detail here. Again, a beautiful original artwork in all of these. That way you can begin to connect not only the words on the page, but the images to understand a deeper truth here. And that was the whole point of the book. Then we get into chapter 11, Gnostic and Cosmological Order. If you've ever wondered who the Gnostics were, you've heard that word Gnostic. This is what it is here. And I go deep into the Gnostic drama, the monad, Yaldabaoth, Sophia, Barbello, the Aeons, tons and tons of information here, including some of the more obscure Gnostic gods, Abraxas here, and the illusionary realm. Again, the point of this book is to help you understand a lot of different belief systems and a lot of different mythologies to understand what is actually going on when people talk about this stuff, and how does all of these philosophies weave through movies, television, books, and all kinds of different narratives. Because you will see from the Matrix movies to other movies that I've been watching recently, including things like Lord of the Rings, all have essentially some of this Gnostic influence. I'm not saying any of those people were Gnostic, but you can certainly see themes unfolding in your favorite movies and television shows. Chapter 12, Ancient Timekeeping Systems, you will begin to see exactly how you're manipulated here, from the Gregorian calendar, how to keep time, the Empire's calendar, the Forgotten Moon calendar. I even give you how to keep time with a turtle shell. 28 plates on the outside, 13 on the inside, 13 moons out of the year, and then you have 28-day cycles on the outside. You don't have to have a real turtle to understand this and to keep this image in your head. And remember that time is measured in emotion and flow, not something that we keep on an empire calendar or in our smartphone. Time is a natural flow, and you can return to it if you understand this, and it will absolutely, if it does anything in your life like it has in mine, it will completely transform your life, in my opinion. Because as you begin to see time not as a construct, but as a flow, and as something that can actually be stopped, experienced, and then unfold as needed, it becomes beautiful as you experience the cycles of this earth. The Wheel of Holy Days, the long winter, the fertility of spring. I go through all of these, including showing you where Christmas came from, things like Saturnalia, Sol Invictus. Why are all of our holidays essentially just appropriating ancient festivals? And I show you exactly what those are in here. The fertility of spring, things like Easter eggs, where did they come from? The burning summer, why they were baking bread in the summer and what summer really means. The shadow of autumn, and what it means to actually contact the dead, not in a way of necromancy, but in a way of understanding that the veil is thinning in this autumnal time, and this is where the ancients would connect with the ancestors and those that had passed, because the veil is thin, and we're doing it without even knowing it, so knowing it is half the battle. Chapter 13, supernatural in the Bible. Love the supernatural in the Bible. I go here through the ravens feeding the prophet, wraiths in the Bible, the witch at Endor summoning the prophet from the dead. All of this stuff literally straight out of the Bible here, guys. You can't make it up. Legion in the Bible. Pineal in the Bible. Why does the Bible talk about pineal? Pine cones. Why are there pine cones at the Vatican? Why are the ancient Babylonian gods holding pine cones? All is revealed in here, and it's talked about directly in your Bible. Musical exorcism, the power of frequency, spirit animals in the Bible. Yes, the talking donkey. Then deceiving spirits in the Bible here. This is fascinating here. The spirit of Jezebel, not what you think, not what the church has told you, but a very, very different spirit than what you've been told. Then we get into banshees in the Bible, the watchers and the Anunnaki in the Bible, crystals in the Bible, yes, all through the Bible, as channeling elements of the consciousness of God, all through the Bible, from the ancient Hebrew breastplates all the way to the New Jerusalem, Merkabah. It's absolutely beautiful. Channeling in the Bible, yes, everybody was channeling who was a prophet. I mean, come on, it's right there. If you like zombie core, here is the armies of the dead from the Bible. We are talking about Ezekiel, but also in the book of Revelation here. Angels and demons in the Bible. Lots of cool supernatural stuff. Mysterious disappearances in the Bible. Trying to talk fast. I know this video is getting long, but you guys have really asked for a demo of the book, and I wanted to get into it here. The disappearance of Enoch, psychedelic realms of the Bible, the wheel within the wheel at Ezekiel. The underworld in the Bible. Jesus meeting the Lord of the underworld and releasing the captives. And where does all that come from? Well, it comes from Hades in Greek. Very, very interesting when you begin to learn the original mythologies that are being retold in new ways in the Bible. Chapter 14, Metamorphosis of Divine Mythos, the Divine Script. This is where you're going to begin to understand exactly why I'm quoting the Bible throughout this entire thing, because it's part of the Divine Script. It doesn't matter what language you use. It doesn't matter what characters you put in the story. The archetypes are all the same. The Divine Script is all the same. From Roman mythology to Greek mythology to the Christian mythos and beyond, it's all essentially telling the same narrative from different perspectives with different words. Primordial chaos of Tiamat and Apsu. I'm going all the way back to the Babylonian, the Anunnaki in here. Where do the biblical stories come from? What are the original epics of creation and the flood and humanity and giants and spells of the dead, the afterlife here in Egypt? Amazing stuff, guys. This gets so good. I mean, the whole book is, I'm just more and more impressed with it the more I read it, because it's a great reminder of all these things that I've talked about for so many years, and they get hard to quantify, but now they're all in one place. Now, all the episodes of my podcasts are all in this book, guys. It's amazing. The biblical epic of salvation. What does that look like in its mythos? The Enochian mysteries. The Norse twilight of the gods. We get in here into a lot of different ancient mythologies, the Thothian channelings. So if you've ever wondered, what are the emerald tablets of Thoth? I get this question all the time. Well, they are a channeled work, and I show exactly where those are coming from. And then I also show what the historical or archaeological findings are with the emerald tablet of Thoth. Two very similarly named. One is an artifact, one is a channeling. So very interesting. All right, rounding up here, guys. Here we are in chapter 15, The Way of Christ Krishna. If you've ever wondered what the Bhagavad Gita is, what it means, and how to interpret it, especially alongside the teachings of Jesus, this is your chapter, my friends. The Teachings of Christ Krishna, Part 1. And I put Christ Krishna because, again, as I posit in this chapter, I believe the Christ, which is the anointed spirit, the offspring of the Father and the Mother, I believe Krishna and Jesus of Nazareth, or Yeshua, were the same spirit. And so that's my postulation as you get into this chapter. Again, you don't have to agree with me, but it's certainly worth going down the rabbit hole and understanding the universality of both of these teachings here, and why Jesus might very well have been in India, Nepal, Egypt, and all of those different places. So I've got a 4-part spread on that here. And then chapter 16 is all about Jesus of Nazareth. What is Jesus? He is us. And I get into that here. This is, if you can understand this, this will set you free from church, from religion, from authoritarianism. It will set you free from dogma. It will set you free from the limitations of your own mind. And I go through the mysteries and allegory, the Christ archetype. What does he is us actually mean? What's the final word of that? Then I talk about Krishniti meditation practice, and what I believe Jesus was actually practicing here. So if you've ever wondered what that was, I get deep into that there. Now we go into chapter 17, Alien and Astral Beings. This book would not be complete without this. Talk about layered reality theory here and the controllers of our illusionary, our projected, our simulation reality, whatever you want to consider it here, the light matrix and the controllers of that. I go into the reptilians, the greys and reptilians, the Nordics, the Syrians. I do some of kind of the main ones here. There's like thousands of different classifications, but I did some of the main ones so that you will understand machine elves and fractal beings, at least the core categorizations of these beings, what they do, where they've been seen, how they present themselves, things like that. Then chapter 18 is all about magic, sorcery, and divination. Now, I am not teaching you to do magic in this. This is, again, for esoteric purposes, so you can begin to understand what's being done all around you. The left and right-handed paths. Divination. Yes, there's a lot of divination in the Bible, even amongst Jesus' followers. So, if you've ever been afraid of that from the Old Testament, well, why was the followers of Jesus practicing it? So, folk, green magic, high and ceremonial magic. Again, this is what's being done in religion a lot. Folk and green magic is also being done a lot without people knowing it. So again, knowing is half the battle. If you are already doing some of these things without knowing it, it's better to know and understand what you're doing so that you can actually take the steps to educate yourself and then take the steps to engage in a practice that you agree to, not what somebody has slipped in under the rug against your will or knowledge. Chaos magic, what is being done hidden in plain sight right here, especially you guys that are more aware of the two wings of the political systems. Chaos magic is going to help reveal a whole lot right here. Sorcery and blood magic, again, I go pretty hard on the whole blood magic thing in the Bible with Jesus, and again, why I think they turned him into that. And he never actually said any of that. So there you go. You can see the full spread there. Mentalism, mind over matter, New Age techno-wizardry. This is something I use a lot. And, I wanted to put all of this in there. Lots of different paths, all using the same elements. Earth, water, wind, fire, and spirit, or plasma, whatever you want to call it, ether. All of it essentially tapping into different of those elements. So, Chapter 19, the Bible, the GOAT occult book. This is guaranteed to ruffle some feathers, but I talk about the scapegoat ritual, talk about how Christianity is out of Egypt, the 7 sons of Sceva in the Bible, and what this actually means. Okay, this story is a literal clue to what the entire Bible is talking about. This clue that I uncovered, and I'm not patting myself on the back, I just was baffled. Some of the things that came out of my research for this book just have blown my mind and changed my life. So when I endorsed the book, it literally changed my life before I ever sold a single copy. This book has literally transformed my life, and I can stand behind that 1,000%, because what the 7 sons of Sceva actually represent in the book of Acts will completely blow your mind. The rapture isn't literal. The tetragrammaton, the divine name of God. I even have a recreation of the original drawing of it from the occult manuals. Very cool stuff here. Ye are gods. What does that mean? What is the red letter movement? And why do I follow that movement? If you ever wanted to know, well, what do you follow, Cub? Right here. The first 4 philosophies in this book in the forgotten isms. And then this page right here is essentially what I follow, along with this techno-wizardry back here and mentalism. So, chapter 20, players in the great game, simulation theory for everyone else. Okay, if you've struggled with simulation theory, this chapter is going to help you immensely, because it makes it in a way that you can actually ingest and go, oh, okay, it's not as weird as some people try to make it. I believe that I really unpack it in a way that makes it fun and understandable for you, the user. Non-local consciousness, beyond coincidence. If you've ever seen synchronicities and numbers and letters and things like that, and colors and symbols. Timeline jumping, the final level. So if you made it this far in the book, you're leveling up. Congratulations, you're at the final level. And now I have the language keys of the master. Breaking down language. Now, I could have gone on and on and on with thousands of pages in this book, breaking down every word that I know about. But what I chose to do is give you the framework on how to do it, the philosophy on how to do it, the math of how to do it, the archetype of how to do it, and I show you exactly how to break words down. Israel, Isis, Ra, El, Israel. showing that this is not just a place on the map. It is a spiritual alchemical formula, Isis Ra El. And then I teach you how to do this with a lot of other words so that you can start doing this on your own, because the universe gives you your own understanding of these things. You are literally going to see words that are not for me. They're for you. And as you unpack this abracadabra here, and I teach you how to use that as well, again, use at your own risk, but I'm going to teach you, you can either use it or understand it, or some people abuse this technology, this knowledge, this wisdom. I hope every single person reading this book uses it for good, uses it as a self-enlightening manual, and decides to be a self-initiate. I go through a bunch of different words here, show you how I break them down using the same formula, and then that is it. The next pages are for you to write your own story, to understand what you are supposed to understand, and to go deeper on the mysteries of ancient wisdom. Thank you guys so much. God bless you. Namaste. And as we always say, peace. Have a beautiful day. I love you. Be blessed. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your order.